Well, I'm going to talk about the 21-day fast. I'm going to tell you what we're doing as a school. Now, I want to warn you, when I lay out what we're doing as a school, how we're responding, school internships, for some of you, you're going to have a lot of detailed questions. This is not the time for that. It's not. We got about 7 weeks to figure out some of the details. We really do, between here and there, 7 weeks. You got 7 weeks to figure out how to navigate what I'm about to say. You got 7 weeks. And so just know that. Here's the first thing I want to say. The first thing I want to say. I want to share with you one of the greatest lessons I've learned in life and ministry. I've preached a whole message on this to you in the fall about the sovereignty of God. But I just want to give you the sentence to kind of frame it out. And it really is, it kind of describes a bit how I approach life and ministry. It's really simple. One of the biggest lessons I've ever learned. If God isn't in it, I don't want to waste my time. However, if God is in it, I want to throw myself at it with everything I've got. That's just my simple approach to life and ministry. I've just found, going all the way back to when I was a youth pastor, 22, 23 years old, and I discovered when I was your guys' age, I'm a full-time youth pastor. Bob Sorge's the senior pastor, sweet youth group. But what I discovered was my personality, my gifting, my natural, I had a little bit of charisma. I could make stuff happen. I could draw a crowd. I could make a group of young people show up for the Friday night youth meeting just by the promise of dynamic personality, fun, energy. I could do the right things that would cause young people to show up. What I learned really quickly, though, is that no matter how dynamic or gifted I was, I couldn't make a young person love Jesus on Tuesday night when nobody was looking. There's nothing I could do. I found that if the teenagers were with me or hanging out with me, then their lives would work. But the moment they weren't hanging out with me, often their lives would fall apart. And I realized both the smallness of my labors, the smallness, actually, of gifting and impact, the smallness of human charisma. I learned very fast in full-time ministry. 23 years old, I'm already realizing what I do, what I offer, what I contribute to ministry with young people or anybody is very small, very weak, very limited, and if the Lord doesn't show up, very ultimately meaningless. Ultimately, I could not make, no matter how hard I tried, I could not make eternal impact that was meaningful apart from God breathing on anything that was happening. And so that shifted me when I was 23. I shifted from trying to make it happen with my own zeal and energy and giftedness. I shifted to trying to get the Lord to breathe on it. That was my shift. I got into prayer real fast. I got into prayer meetings really quickly as a youth pastor. I got into calling teenagers to prayer meetings. But I got teenagers into prayer meetings, and I got into prayer because I wanted to, for lack of a better term, I wanted to make God move. I wanted what I was doing to be blessed of God, and I wanted the wind of God to breathe on anything that I was doing, because I knew that if God moved, there would be a permanence to it, there'd be fruit to it, and it would last. I knew that God could do what I couldn't do, and so I prayed to get God to do it. Now I'm 50, coming into my 50th year in August. Now I know there's a way different way to do this, and the way different way, the way I never would have signed up for it, because when I was young, I was like energetic. My wife will tell you, I was an energetic youth intercessor evangelist. I wanted to intercede, not because I liked prayer. I wanted to intercede because I was about revival, and I wanted to evangelize. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to get, see young people come to Jesus. I could never get them to come to Jesus, but I was aggressive. I was bold. I was fearless. None of that matters, by the way. None of it matters. Sometimes bold, fearless, and energetic just means it takes you significantly longer to learn this next lesson. Because again, it's just, my point isn't to talk about how cool I was. The point is to talk about how impatient I was. And I was impatient related to the key. The key isn't pray so that you can make God do what he does. Pray so that you can make God touch hearts. I discovered the key is pray as a way of waiting on the Lord so that when the Lord moves, you jump in and follow with your whole heart. That's the lesson that I learned about a fruitful life, ministry, family. That's one of the key lessons I've learned in life, that if I'll be patient enough to just be faithful, do the little stuff that he asked me to do, show up when I say I'm going to show up, serve like crazy, love people well as I can. If I'll just do the little stuff day in, day out, show up to a prayer room and be faithful, but all of it is a form of waiting on the Lord. I don't wait passively. I wait with a measure of aggressiveness related to serving and loving and caring, doing the stuff God asked me to do. But I found that if I'm diligent and patient enough to wait, every so often the wind begins to blow, and when the wind blows, you got to go. You have to go. You have to say yes. I've also discovered at age 49, now, I mean, this is my 32nd year in ministry of some kind. I started when I was 17. And so I've discovered, 32 years later, that the wind doesn't actually blow all that often. Dynamic leaders would like to announce that the wind is blowing more than it actually does, but I've discovered 32 years in that the wind doesn't actually blow all that often. In other words, sometimes out there in ministry, and I'm just telling you this, it's not that people are mean or people are bad or people are wrong. It's just that sometimes in the West, you can't always tell the difference between dynamic, gifted people that can make something happen, and then they go, it's God, and the stuff that actually nobody can make happen and is God. And that's what you want to be jealous for. You want to be jealous for those rare but significant seasons when it's the stuff that no man can make happen. It's the stuff that nobody could stir up, and it's clearly God. And God moves. Of course, those moments when God does that kind of a thing, you can't help it. It always the day after, it kind of feels like the day before. You're kind of like, well, I thought it would feel different after God moved. It's like, nope. Peter's really clear. Acts 3:19 to 21, Peter's really clear. Those seasons of refreshing, they serve a sovereign purpose. There are these seasons, there's these moments. They're divine moments, Acts 3:19. They're divine moments of divine opportunity that God can make happen, that you can't make happen, that push you forward towards Acts 3:21, the consummation of all things, the second coming of Jesus. Heaven can't contain him anymore. It's time for him to return. These moments of the Spirit's activity, they move you towards that ultimate end. They move your life. They shift your thinking. They shift your family. They disrupt, and they move you in a direction you might not have gone apart from the Lord's help, but it's a direction towards the consummation of his heart, his plans for the earth. That's the other thing I've learned in this way of following God. That's the other thing I've learned. I've learned the Lord is so good at leading me in my dullness, my stubbornness, and my distractedness. The Lord's so good at leading me, but his leadership is the sum total of decades, not years, not days, not minutes. His leadership is the sum total of decades, which means that when you get a sovereign window and you say yes to it, you'll never know how impactful that yes was until often decades later. Now I look back at the decades. Now I look back at very simple yeses. I mean, I'll give you this is a very personal prophetic word that somebody gave me recently. They said, hey, they're praying for me. They said, hey, I see you at age 25 and age 50, age 25 and age 50. They said, it's like I see young Dave and old Dave. They said, but it's like what I'm seeing is the same person at 25 as you are at 50. You're still the same man. You're still the same man that when you come to a cliff, you'll jump if the Lord says to jump. That's who you were at 25. It's who you are at 50. You're the same man. If the Lord says go, you'll go without hesitation. She goes, the Lord's preserved that in you. And she was saying in what she was praying for me, there's another cliff coming. The Lord's saying, keep that same courage. Just jump when it's time to jump. I would that there'd be a company like that here and online. I would that I can't express this enough. At 50, I have not one regret about one cliff that I've jumped off because the Lord said. I can't look back and say that was a bad move. To say yes, to jump in a car, to go to New York City for a prayer meeting called The Call. I can't say that was a bad move, to just jump, just to grab a bunch of young people, throw them in a car and go. That's been my story for 30 years now. If something's going on and it's God, I mean, you heard my story a couple weeks ago. If it's Toronto, if it's Brownsville, if it's whatever, and somebody says go, I'm like, yes, I'm in. I have no regrets to the times where I said yes, thinking that it was the Lord. I can't think of one time where I thought, oh, I should have been more cautious, or I should have been more careful, if it's God. And so I want to advertise to you. You want to begin to look for those sovereign moments that you can't make happen. You want to begin to look for those windows of opportunity that push your life forward in ways you won't even appreciate till decades later. And you want to jump on them wholeheartedly. You want to go for it, if it's God. Well, the reason I say that is because I believe this is one of those moments. Obviously, you guessed from the lead up. I believe that this is one of those moments. But I would say in the 32 years I've been jumping off cliffs to say yes to God, I would say in the 32 years I've been jumping off cliffs, I've never quite come to one like this. In fact, I would say it stronger. If you got the letter, if you read the letter, in 2 decades of being around or helping with or serving massive prayer mobilization efforts, stadium prayer meetings, I would say in 2 decades of being around that kind of mobilization, where my job, I'm thinking, Houston, Texas, 2012, Governor Rick Perry, not our stream. I'm used to The Call. I'm used to Lou Engle. I was on the team. I was on the board of The Call. I'm used to going to find fiery, spirit-filled, charismatic, I'll go anywhere people and telling them there's a prayer meeting and trying to get them to show up at the stadium. I'm used to that. 2012, I'm going to Texas to serve a governor, to mobilize youth and young adults, mostly not charismatic, mostly Baptists, to go to Reliant Stadium in Houston to do a solemn assembly for the future of the nation. That was tough. But 55,000 showed up, mostly young people. It was awesome. Sweet moment, sweet for me. I can tell you confidently, that was a historic moment for me. It was a historic moment for our nation. It was a moment in which, for the first time since Samuel Adams in the late 1700s, an American governor was calling a solemn assembly for our nation. So it was a truly historic moment. Again, it's very significant for me personally. I can tell you, this is of another order, this 21-day fast. I can tell you confidently, this is of another order. This is nothing like that. The 21-day fast we're about to step into, I want to say it again, this is nothing like that. I've been a part of more calls, more stadium prayer gatherings than I can count. I can tell you confidently, this is nothing like that. This is of another order entirely. I wasn't quite clear on that, to be honest, a couple Mondays ago when I just said, hey, turn signal, there's a fast coming, it's going to be disruptive. Now it's a few weeks later, you guys went on break, it's a few weeks later, and now I am very clear on what I wasn't clear on a couple Monday nights ago. Why? Because of a couple reasons. I'm going to give one in a moment. I'm going to give the most difficult reason last. It's the hardest reason to grab onto. I want to give the easiest reason first. I'm telling you, it's the Lord. You have to determine that in some ways for yourself. You've got to figure it out on your own. You've got to figure out what that means. But I am telling you, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a prayer mobilization effort where it goes from, where we're hoping that 7-8 weeks from the moment we call the fast, we're hoping that 8 weeks from now, 100,000 would say yes and pray with us for 21 days. But within days, 300,000 said yes. We were hoping in 8 weeks, 100,000, within days, 300,000. And now, as we begin to actually engage the body of Christ with this fast, we're believing the Lord fairly confidently that 1 million are going to join us. We're pretty confident in that. I don't want to hype that number. I don't want to exaggerate that number. I'm not I don't care what the number is. You know me at least enough to know that if the real number is 10, I'm going with 10. If the real number is 50, I'm going with 50. I'm not going with the hype number. I'm going with the real number, but I want to assure you that's a real number. Again, I'm not saying that to impress you. I'm saying that to get you to pause. We went from 100,000 to 300,000 within days. By the time we're done, 1 million are saying yes. 1 million. Praying for 21 days, night and day. Number one, it's the first that I know of in church history. I'm not aware of any others. If you find one, tell me. I'm not aware, as of yet, a 21-day continuous, 24 hours, 21 days for the salvation of Israel. Breakthrough, revival, unto the return of Jesus. And if you're confused by Israel, I just want to give you that sneak preview. If you're confused by Israel, if you're like, well, I don't know that I have the grace to pray for Israel, you're not necessarily just praying for Israel. What you're really leaning into is the salvation story of the Lord for the planet. Because Romans 11, which I'm going to look at in a moment, Romans 11, 12 through 15, as Israel goes, so goes the earth. That's the order that the Lord set as it relates to global blessing or fullness, as he called it. Or life from the dead, as Paul called it in 11:15. Life from the dead. The earth that is dead comes alive at the salvation of Israel. Romans 11:15. So when you're praying for Israel, you're praying for global revival. When you're praying for more than global revival, let me say it differently. When you're praying for Israel, you're praying that the earth gets set in divine order according to the Father's intention in a way that's blessing for the whole earth. But let's not go there yet. Let's just take a step back. Again, 21 days, just that there is a 21-day fast. Just that there is one by which a company of people would pray 24/7, that in and of itself, that's factually historic. That's not me going, rah, rah, look at that, that's amazing. That is factually historic. That there's a commitment of a company of believers to do that is already historic. That 1 million would voice their agreement with that commitment and themselves join the fast is, again, it's unprecedented. It's historic. That 1 million for 21 days would culminate in 100 million on Pentecost Sunday. 40 years after a 21-day fast in Kansas City initiated by an angel, a comet, and all manner of crazy heavenly experiences. You just got to stop. You got to go, do I believe that or don't I? And you don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe it. I'm not here to make you believe tonight. I'm here to blow a trumpet. These kinds of kairos moments, these kinds of divine windows where a moment opens that you can step into, I want to urge you to think that through. Again, in the general sense, that God moves, in the general sense, that God initiates and God stirs. Remember what I said at the beginning, when it's God making it happen in a way that no man could. When it's God that's making it happen and you're at the epicenter of it, it's what our friends in Israel are wrestling through right now. They're not really wrestling. I'm being metaphorical. But what I mean is, word's getting to them. 1 million Gentile believers are going to be praying and fasting for them for 21 days. Can you imagine? You're in Israel, you're a messianic believer, and word comes to you that 1 million around the world are praying for you. Imagine you're here at IHOP and we get word. Hey guys, I have an announcement to make. There are 1 million intercessors worldwide praying for IHOP right now. You're like, it's during the fast. You're like eating your hot dog. Wait, what? There are 1 million that are fasting night and day. They've disrupted their lives. They've changed their schedule. They've messed up everything with their families. They've messed up everything that's normal. They are throwing themselves and everything they've got to fast for your breakthrough and your blessing. You would put the hot dog down, I assure you. You would be provoked. And you would think, I probably should fast too. That's what's happening right now. Think about that. So just that God is moving, that God is stirring, and God is awakening a desire to lean in right now, these 21 days, that's happening is historic. But again, when you attach Israel to it, that's when I tremble. I go, wait, that's different. In all of my years, and again, I've been a part of this prayer movement for a long time, this era of the prayer movement. Been a part of it for a long time. I can't tell you when I've seen anything like this, period, and I can't tell you when I've seen anything like this for Israel. I've never seen this kind of response, and I've never seen this kind of response for Israel. Those are two different subjects. I've never seen this kind of response to rise up and fast, and I've never seen this kind of response for Israel. I've never seen it. Which again tells me, because nobody is that convincing, no preacher is that compelling. Israel is not compelling on her own for dull, disconnected us to rise up and contend for and change our lives and mess things up to contend for. Which tells me, worldwide, the Lord is awakening and stirring something. I already had to be a part of it. Now I double have to be a part of it. I was already jumping off the cliff. Now I want to dive off of it as fast as I can. That's where I'm at. I want to urge you to do more than pray. I want you to think through, how do I recognize, respond, and engage with sovereignly orchestrated moments in my life? That's the question you really need to ask. Pray about the fast really is kind of trite. It's a bigger question. How do I recognize? Would I recognize a sovereign moment without help? Would I recognize a kairos window that opens that's unusual in church history, and I'm at the epicenter of it? Would I recognize it if it happened? And if I recognized it, would I dive into it with all my heart? And what would that look like? I want to call you to be the radical believer you came here to be. Don't say yes to being a radical pursuer of Jesus from back home Boise and come here and be asleep in your moment. That's what I want to urge you to do. I want to urge you to remember the dream of your heart when you said yes to come here. You came here with a dream and a vision of being somebody radical, and in the moment of truth, don't draw back into lethargy and dullness and watch somebody else step into the moment with zeal. This is your moment. The Lord brought you here for this moment in time. I'm thinking of the upperclassmen. As excited as you got about the send, I want to assure you, this is of another order entirely. The week on the Truman property, this is of another order entirely. There is nothing like this that I've said yes to that I can recall over my last 32 years. I feel stirred to say that to you. Remember who you were when you were 15, 16, dreaming of being radical. Radical does not mean you're the most intense person in the room. Radical does not mean that you're the loudest intercessor. Radical means that when God moves, you sell everything to follow. That's radical. Radical is Abraham, not, fiery preacher guy. Radical is Abraham. God says, go west. Abraham goes, I'm in. God goes, that's the man. I found a friend, as we sung tonight. God's not looking for the most intense, sweaty intercessor. He's looking for the friend that jumps. That's who you get to be. That's radical. So you might not understand Israel. You don't have to. You might not feel excited about praying for Israel. You don't have to. You've come to a threshold moment in your life by which God is doing something historically unique in church history. And you have to decide what you're going to do about it. I want to urge you to take this opportunity that the Lord's giving us for all that it's worth. Go as far as you can go. Let it be as disruptive as it can be. Let it be as disruptive as it can be. Radical is not finding reasons to not do it. Radical is not elevating the inconvenience of it as your excuse to not. Radical is pressing through inconvenience and obstacle to lay hold of God regardless of the cost. Again, whatever that means. In the details of how we do this, in one sense, I don't care what you do. I care that you remember who you came here to be and seize your moment. That's what I care about. So now what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Let me talk a little practical, and then I'm going to come back to this. What are we going to do? Please. Always.
Is this, yeah, here we go. Just to add kind of a same thought, same burden, different voice, like I'm literally sick with, it's a trembling, it's a burden, it's a dear God. I keep thinking of a dream that Mike was given, probably 30 years ago. We're not ready. Like, we're not ready. I have this oh God. And so I just want to kind of give that perspective of, yes, this is exciting. This is terrifying. This is sobering. I just want to echo what Dave is saying to say, this is not, if you've been here, maybe you've gotten used to a fast every spring, and so this is just what we do right in the spring. This is not that.
February of 2019, I rebuked the entirety of IHOP for no longer being a fasting people.
That's right. That's right. And I believe that the fast leading up to this was in part about this. It was to get us tender and ready and prepared. But I just want to bring just that echo of oh, this is so, God, okay. If you think it's time, then I'm trusting you. But dear God, even the Israel part is so weighty. And I just feel the weight of it. And then I'm teary over there during worship looking at you guys going, okay, the Lord brought you right now. Ask the Lord questions about that. You're here in this moment that is historic. It is. And if you're tired of hearing historic, you just have to trust that we're not hyping this up. You just have to trust that.
Which is hard to, because we've been in a weird 4-year season of unusual divine activity.
But I would just invite you to just ask the Lord questions. Lord, what are you saying about this time? Get my heart into where your heart is about this. And, I'm hearing Mike talk about it, and I'm going, dear God, I have never heard those sentences come out of his mouth. Oh, my word.
And you've known him since 97.
Yeah, the guy that...
way before, actually, but 97 is when...
Right. Yes, I was 12 when I met Mike. But the guy that called the 83 fast, he had Gabriel, he had the comet, he had all the things, and he's like, no, I don't want to. But he did in obedience. And let it be proof that he really didn't want to. The fact he hasn't done it for 40 years. And he's now calling a fast again. It's been 40 years. As far as I know, I think I'm right.
No, he confirmed it. He hasn't called a fast in 40 years.
He's calling a fast. He waited 40 years. This is a big deal. And so...
Not a public one. We've called
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Ones.
We've done the family fast, the spiritual family here internal, but to call the nation and nations is it's unprecedented. So I just wanted to bring that sobriety to it.
I'll add to your point, Dana. I look back now, I go, oh, the convergence in 2018 that shifts our hearts and makes us really see that we need to prioritize family at a different level, which the word margin emerges. We need margin to do family at another level, causes us to make the decision, in 30 seconds, to cut a 25,000 person young adult conference, stop doing it, stop doing lots of things, so that we can prioritize Mary of Bethany, that we could prioritize the foreigner message, that we could prioritize family. We make that decision in 2018, 2019. 2019, I say to IHOP on a Sunday morning, 2 weeks in a row, you're not a fasting people anymore.
Literally my favorite message of Dave Sliker ever.
It's
really good.
But then all of a sudden, the pandemic hits, 3 40-day fasts in a row with a 21-day fast tucked in there that we never talk about anymore. 3 40-day fasts in a row, the Laodicean spirit for 40 days. That's one of the most unusual things I've ever seen. The Laodicean grace to engage the Laodicean spirit for 40 days as a people, culminating with the Truman property for a week, the send. I'm giving the short version, but all of it to me set things in motion. It cleared the decks and set things in motion so that we would have the wherewithal, the ability, and the capacity to do this. To me, all of that is about this. The Lord was setting things in motion for this moment, from that moment. So that I just wanted to add to that. It's super clear to me. Really clear. But again, what are you going to do about that? I want to call you to something radical. Here's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear the decks for those 3 weeks. Now, I recognize that there are 2 weeks of school and 1 week post-graduation. That final week, I'm going to appeal to you. The 2 weeks, I'm going to change everything so that you can do the evening section with me. But we're clearing the decks. And in clearing the decks, what we're doing is we're basically saying, okay, during this fast, there's liberty everywhere. Faculty, teachers, leaders have the liberty to continue their classes. They have the liberty to continue to teach if they want to. I'm not gonna. A few others aren't going. Many aren't going to. Many are going to try to end classes for the most part, to end the meeting together by that final week, May 7th. And then like if you're in my class, you'll find out when you get to my class. I'll have some stuff for you to do, and maybe I'll do some Q&As over in the multipurpose room once a week. But for the most part, I want to be in that room doing that fast. And there's a bunch that are doing that. But there's a few that want to keep teaching, which I love. Because what they're teaching is going to fuel the fast. It's great. I'm not bugged by that. There's genuine liberty without penalty. But for the teachers that continue, they know that you have liberty to not go to their classes, to be in the prayer room, specifically in the evening. So if you want to not be in those classes, you're going to still have to be responsible for what they ask of you in terms of education, but you get liberty to not be there to be in the prayer room. We are shifting PRP, ministry teams. We're shifting all of that to the prayer room for the fast. We're shifting a bunch of our graduation stuff. The actual graduation will be on May 20th. We'll have that little reception that we have right after, right here. But all the other stuff that goes with graduation, baccalaureate, senior banquet, all that stuff, the IHOP celebration, we're doing all of that the week before the fast. We're shifting it all. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it hard, and we're going to have a great time celebrating our seniors. The seniors are going to feel celebrated. But we're going to do it by May 5th. And then we're going to do this fast hard. The thing that we're doing is we're shifting as much as we can. We're shifting classes, programs, schedules. We're shifting as much as we can for one purpose so that, and this is the opportunity, this is what I'm most excited about, so that we can all be together in the prayer room every night. Now, Zach, his team, don't ask me the details. They're going to work out what the hours are. You can check the box of your requirement and go happy with the Lord. But there are some of you I'm calling to go way beyond the requirement. I'm calling you to be in there with me every night. Stuart, there's a number of leaders that have already committed to me. Hey, I'm with you. We're going to do this. We're going to do the nights together. Why? Because I'm feeling the responsibility. I'm not talking to you as the president of IHOP. I'm talking to you as a leader in the prayer movement. I feel the responsibility of 1 million intercessors leaning in with us, and I feel the responsibility to help host them when they do. When they lean into our prayer meetings, I want them to lean into fiery Israel prayer meetings, intercession meetings, revival meetings. I mean, I would think the best prayer meetings to lean into, if you're out there and you're an intercessor, are the ones where all of our young adults in the evenings are crying out to God for revival. I would think those would be the ones I'd want to lean into. And so I've asked Caroline. She hasn't announced this yet. Please don't tell anybody. I've asked Caroline to pray about, I don't even know that Daniel knows about this. I've asked Caroline to consider taking the youth group, bringing the youth group to Wednesday nights in the prayer room, having youth prayer meetings where we cry out to God for revival. I mean, let's do it. And so 6 to midnight, that's what I'm going to do, the 21 days. I'm going on a missions trip. I'm messing with my life. I'm going to be there about 10 a.m. to midnight every day. That's my goal. That's what I'm aiming at. But I'm shifting everything in our schedule with our team. Our team is working hard. We're shifting as much as we can so that you can be there with us and that we can lean into this together. That's the responsibility and the opportunity. What's the responsibility? The responsibility is I feel a responsibility to host the nations in these prayer meetings. I feel the opportunity to do it together and to see if we can go for breakthrough together in that prayer room. I can't tell you how excited I am. All the years I've been involved with IHOP, I don't know that we've ever had extended times in prayer all together with the interns, with OTI and others. Like, I'm so excited, for real. I'm not joking. I'm so excited to be with OTI those 21 days. I am. I mean, what an opportunity to lean in together. So much will happen if we do. And then again, of course, I'm pointing to that week after graduation. I'm calling as many of you as can to shift your schedule, shift your lives. Do that final week with us. Do it. I'm calling you work in the evenings. I'm calling you to shift your life. Make it work. You got stuff going on. I am urging you to shift it to the morning, shift it to the afternoons. In other words, if you have to miss class because you got to work in the afternoons so that you can be in the prayer room with us at night, let's figure it out. The reason I don't want to go into the details is I don't want to figure it all out for you. I want to engage. I want to take this open door of opportunity. I want to go as far together as we can go. Zach, you got something?
Yeah, no, I just want to just add on that the team, a bunch of us are in to do this and excited about the opportunity to lean in with you guys. I think that's, since you've announced this with our team had a discussion, hey, can we do this? We want to call everybody to it. Is it possible for us to do? Because this is a big ask. And it is, because we've got a lot to shift around, a lot of family things to make work. But thinking about being in the prayer room at a spot that's usually pretty sparse, when OTI's there, and all of you guys in the evenings during this fast, during this historic moment, feels so sweet. I'm so excited for the time that we'll get to be together and to lean into this, because we get to do it as a school, especially if we get to pull this off. If we shift our schedules around, we sign up for it, we're in there together. That's going to be such a sweet time. And I just had to say, I'm in. I'm excited for a bunch of the team that's in, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I want to say this. There's one caveat. I just want to give it so that Ruben doesn't kill me. There's one caveat, and the caveat is there are some classes we can't give liberty on. They're not many. We're genuinely shifting about 80 to 90% of our school schedule. We're canceling whatever can be canceled. We're shifting whatever can be shifted. We're trying to clear the decks as much as possible so that we can be in that prayer room together in the evenings. Now, again, don't come to me with your exceptions. I'm calling everybody to the evenings. I get that some of you have commitments that you just can't get out of. You're on teams. You're committed. You're a singer. You're a musician. Do your commitment. If you can get out of it and come to the evenings here and there, or if you can sneak into the evenings for a few, great. But don't, just like with Asbury, don't mess with your commitments because I'm being intense right now. Honor your commitments. It's as meaningful for you to be a priest before the Lord on your worship team as it is to come in the evenings and carry the evenings. That's meaningful. It's powerful. So just know that. Don't come to me with that. I love it. There's some skill-based classes within the worship school. You can't get out of those. I mean, you can, but there's a different kind of dynamic because those 2 weeks are really critical 2 weeks if you're in the worship school related to the skill. Good news is we've shifted literally everything else. And so you're probably in the 21 days, Matt said this so well in our meeting, in the 21 days, you're probably going to be actually secretly thankful for a 45-minute break to go play guitar, to go play keys, to go sing. Like you won't mind the 45-minute break plus drive back and forth. It'll give you like a, I'll tell you this, I don't know if this is going to happen. I'm going to push for it. Mike said it because part of the reason I'm doing this is Mike asked me to. Part of the reason we're not doing the night watch is that Mike and Kirk and others are rallying to get staff to the night watch. Part of the reason I'm asking you to do the evenings is because it doesn't work to have a fiery night watch and a weak evening set. Like we got to be fiery from 6 to 12. We got to be fiery from midnight to 6. We got to be fiery from 6 to 12. The old people have that. They'll lock that down. No, we need them. We need them. We need them. We absolutely need them, and we love them and we value them. They got it locked down. Now, I'm taking personally the responsibility of 6 to 12. I'm taking it personally. I want to invite you to take it personally. You don't get this opportunity all that often to help host a prayer meeting of this magnitude. I want you to take it seriously, take it personally. I'm praying that a core of you feel the responsibility that I feel by the grace of God. If you don't feel it by grace, do what you do. I won't be mad at you. I'll still think you're the best. But some of you are going to take it as personally as I do. And then some of you or others of you are going to see the opportunity. Like, wait a minute, this is a window. The Lord is going to accelerate something. I say yes to this. The Lord is going to accelerate, shift. Man, this is genuinely a sweet opportunity. And so, again, we're going to work it all out online. We're going to work it out how we do this. It would be my joy. Honestly, I'm thinking 6 to midnight. Just turn on Zoom. You guys are right there online. You're with us. We're with you. We're with them. We're with them. We're together. That seems like a joy to me. Well, I'm not going to unpack Romans 11 tonight. No. There will be time to talk about Romans 11. Let me just say it in the briefest. I'll say it in the briefest of ways. If you think that we're using big language now, nobody uses bigger language than Paul. The reconciling of the world. The reconciling of the world. Like if you ever think, why should I pray for Israel? Paul would look at you and go, how does the reconciling of the world touch you? Does that move you at all? I just don't know if I have a heart for Israel. Do you have a heart for justice and righteousness established globally? Do you have a heart for the ending of abortion? I do. Do you have a heart for the ending of human trafficking? I do. Paul knits all of those justice issues to the salvation and fullness of Israel. Do you have a heart for the poor? I do. The salvation of Israel is the beginning of a global explosion of resource distributed by Jesus, not some warlord in Colombia. He's the one distributing the resource. He's the one tending to the poor. That's why it's fullness for the earth. It's fullness for the earth. It's riches for the earth. It's the reconciling of the earth because Jesus is on the earth. You might not have a heart for Israel, but I'm hoping you have a heart for Jesus on the earth. And Paul connects the two in Romans 11, 12 through 15. He puts the two together. I love Dana's point. That's both glorious and tremble-worthy. Why? Because when the Lord calls a global fast, that's like, whoa. Is there about to be like global revival? Anytime a global fast just explodes and people are leaning in, you go, whoa, something's about to happen. But when God calls a global fast and Israel is at the spearhead of it, you actually should stop, like Dana said, and go, whoa, wait a minute. The Middle East is in turmoil. Israel's in trouble. There's war in the Ukraine. The economy of the earth is tottering. Banks are shutting down overnight. Some of the most wealthy banks in America are crashing right before our eyes. The economy is in a crazy place. There is global turmoil in a way that, again, is just observably unusual to the last 20 years. There's global turmoil, and in the midst of some pretty crazy global turmoil, starts with a pandemic, it's culminating with bank crashes, wars, and instability in the Middle East. Centerpiece of the instability is Israel. In the midst of all that, the Lord is stoking the flames of a global fast. 1 million leaning in for Israel, culminating with 100 million leaning in for Israel. Again, just read Romans 11 and do the math. Like, wait a minute. This isn't just a fast. This is a timing indicator. This isn't just a fast. The fasts for, come on, it's going to be revival. Those fasts may have been a little hypey. They may not have been. We won't know how heaven's economy works related to those fasts and those prayer meetings until we get to the age to come and the Lord shows us the connection between those fasts and future breakthroughs. We just won't know. But this one's a little bit easier to figure. Paul, you connected in Romans 11. You connected the salvation of Israel to the transformation and fullness of the earth, the reconciliation of the earth. You connected the two, and for the first time, there's a surge of grace and hunger and desire and zeal worldwide. I mean, my little relationships, my little connections, I'm getting messages from all over. We're in. I'm like, now I'll end with this. I said something at our EMT. It came out of my mouth, and then I went, whoa. I wasn't thinking about it. It wasn't on my mind. It just came out of my mouth. We're talking about this fast, and I look at the team, and I go, guys, we are at a Jordan River crossing moment as a people. You only cross the Jordan River once in your life. Here we are. It's time to cross the Jordan. And I start to move on, and Reuben stops me, and he goes, wait, what did you just say? I went, then the rest of the team, Nathan was next. I'll never forget Nathan Steele's face. He was like, yeah. He just kind of looks at me like, they all look at me like, did you just say that? And I go, yeah, I just said that. And I think I now believe it. No, I believe it. I emailed Mike, the team, different ones, Mike Robeson, Chris Reed. He goes, no, this is right. This is a key moment. Why is it a key moment? I'm not talking about a key moment for IHOP. It's a key moment for the prayer movement worldwide that the Lord is stoking, that you're a part of, like it or not. The prayer movement worldwide, this is a key moment for the prayer movement to step into its role in contending for Israel's destiny. A threshold is being crossed. This is a threshold moment. May 29th will feel boring, dull, and tired, and you'll be thankful to be eating. And you won't have any clue as you're eating your hot dog on the 29th, which don't eat a hot dog on the 29th. I want to encourage you, those of you that can health-wise, I want to encourage you, do a water fast. It's just 21 days. I want to encourage others of you, do a juice fast. They're harder than a water fast, but do it. Like ask the Lord, God, what's the hardest fast I can do physically and still be good on the 29th, not dead? What can I do? Don't try to pick the easiest fast to do. Pick the one that you're going to have to lean into. The one that you're going to have to wake up asking the Lord for fresh grace every day. Pick that one. May 29th, you're going to wake up and feel like, well, what was that? But I want to assure you, the threshold's been crossed. Everything will be different going forward. Won't feel different, won't look different. It'll take some time for that statement to play out. But I want to assure you, there's no chance 1 million people fast night and day for Israel for 21 days and things are the same afterwards. There's no chance. Let's stand.